Okay, cool. So I just have a few questions. The first question is, where did the world come from? If we look to the ultimate past.
Why is everyone looking at me? I probably believe in evolution and that whole thing, how we started as some sort of organism and evolved into humans eventually.
Okay, so there's nothing really that special about us.
No,
I think there is something very special about us, but I think it has its beginning in something very simple.
I don't think there was a big bang and we just appeared.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, personally, that there's something to do with the whole, God and then the evolution together. So it's, mixed together. That's what I think.
All right, interesting. And why do you say that?
I just think it's going to sound a bit silly, but, I think what the Bible says and what the evolution kind of does, in a way, go together.
Okay, so cool. So you're trying to bring the two sides,
Yeah.
what science says and what the Bible says, together. Okay. And did you have an opinion?
I think it's sort of I do believe in sort of the Big Bang and evolution and all that stuff. Basically what the scientists have been saying, how this carbon or whatever and sort of just magically collided by sheer miracle and somehow made I don't know, I don't really understand it very well, but...
Can I ask, what do you guys study in uni?
I'm a BCommer. I do accounting and finance.
Okay.
I'm doing a Bachelor of Science, but I've been taking biological anthropology, so learning about evolution and doing physiology, but trying to get into oral health next year.
Okay.
Be dental.
I study law and finance.
Cool. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
A lot of
I study surveying and
law. Okay. Just so you know, guys, I'm a lawyer myself.
Oh,
so
wow.
This will be good. This will be good. Okay. So now you said two words that really stuck out to me: miracle and magical. So why did you use those two terms?
Because when you really analyze the human body, it's pretty astounding that the fact that we are a bunch of atoms that have somehow got life. It's kind of, you can make a human body with all the exact same particles and atoms and whatever, but it still won't be the same, won't have life. So that's why I say magic. It's sort of it's quite amazing how the fact that we are here and be able to create life and be able to continue to create life, just, I don't know, it's just that's what I was meaning.
Yeah. What do you guys think about that?
I agree kind of with what he's saying, but I also just think there's probably more of a logical explanation to it.
Oh no, it's definitely logical. But I think it's a mixture of both, where it's you can see the logic behind it, but at the same time, some of the, just when I think about the universe, just life in general, that is just so far beyond our scope of understanding. It's just too much to even comprehend. It's overwhelming. So I think that's where we assign magical or spiritual, because we need to make that we need to make it make sense. It doesn't.
Okay.
It's just it's unbelievable. When you try to quantify the fact that we're all here like this, it's just you can't. So.
Anything to add to that from our Bible person? Half Bible person?
No, I think what they said is obviously very true, and I agree with everything they say. And it's not personally what I believe in. So I've grown up believing and being sure.
Okay. Very good. All right. Let's go to the next question. Why is there so much suffering in the world? And why do we seem to care?
Why do we seem to care or not care?
Well, assuming we do care, everyone that I've met cares. But but from atheism, it's hard for me to explain why that is.
Yeah, I agree. I'm probably, same being an atheist. But it seems like religion is a lot of, it's a kind of a big cause of suffering. But it's kind of we care because we want it to stop, obviously. We just want everyone to be happy and enjoying their time. But it's quite hard to achieve when there's so many different perspectives.
I think
animalistic instincts where we want to be better than other people
And there's
and we
always
want to rise to the top of that pyramid. So like realistically, most of the struggles in the world are caused by, individuals who seek power, who have, who are greedy with power, who are greedy with money. But all of that just comes back to the fact that at the end of the day, we're just animals.
So when you say we're just animals, I mean, so is that okay to be super greedy and just to eat more than what you need?
No, of course that's not okay. But I think as much as civilization tries to dictate that that's not okay, those.
It really is okay.
It's not okay.
Okay, so I want to push you because you're studying law.
Yeah.
So you're bringing ethics into the picture.
Yeah.
You're saying it's not okay to be greedy.
Yeah.
Ultimately, is what you're saying. So my question for you is, why not? Who says? Is it just society?
That's how, because civilization has evolved to the point where, like, at least in Western society, there is those values that we hold, and that's just that's what we
morals,
morals. Yeah, like.
But is there anything?
Those morals have been assigned by someone at some point in history.
There's difference between morals and the law.
Because morals evolve as well. Because like if you go back 2,000 years, like there's things that people did then that would be completely unacceptable now. But because the code of that time described that was okay, it is.
So it's relative. It's constantly
relative,
changing.
Always evolving.
Yeah, it's dictated by us as well. It's not written into some.
Yeah.
So we get to decide what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
I think we do decide what's right and wrong. I'm not sure if that's necessarily wrong.
So where are you bringing that idea? You're bringing an objective standard in through the back door, even though you're trying to avoid it.
No, but like, I'm just trying to say that like, civilization is our creation, right?
Well, I don't know. That's a philosophical statement. I'd have to think about that.
We'll just assume that humans have built this world up that we live in, right?
They didn't create it.
No,
Right.
They built these
But they-
buildings and
right.
they built these institutions. And
Okay.
they built
The
these-
way it is
Who
today
gave
is
you that
because of
idea to build it up?
themselves.
No, but like,
it's an evolution, right? Everything's evolving over
But
time.
surely there's something else that's like underlying,
But like what?
That's what I'm trying to. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. Oh well. What do you think about suffering, ethics?
I think suffering and life sort of go hand in hand. Like, without suffering, life wouldn't really be worth living. Because it's sort of like everything that's purposeful or worth doing in life has some suffering behind it. So like getting a degree, or like having a job, or raising kids, they're all just sort of some sort of responsibility or some sort of suffering behind it. So it's sort of like, it sort of gives purpose to life in a way. That's sort of my way of viewing it. Like,
But you can't be happy without being sad.
yeah. Well, no, it's not like being sad. Like, there is, you can like minimize the suffering you have by the way you act. So there's obviously there's parts of life that you can't control. Say like an unexpected death in a family, that's unnecessary suffering, as in you can't do anything about it. There's nothing you can do to do anything about it. But there is suffering such as like not having a good life in terms of like living your best life. There's ways you can like not suffer through adopting responsibility that you can minimize. So yeah, that's sort of my view on it.
Do you have an answer for suffering, or why is there? Because you suggested God might be in the picture. So if God exists, why would He allow suffering? Oh, the atheist is saying, "Yeah, go get it." No,
Just the reason why God. What does it say? What is your question? Why God?
Well, let's
Why would
assume.
God allow suffering?
Yeah.
Because I think that's what it's the whole point. I think the whole point of the Bible is to teach people about past doings.
And like lessons, like
It's basically like a set of fairy tales, like moral stories from people that have done wrong in the past, trying to educate the people in the future, which I think the Bible does. It does have a lot wrong with it. People are very right about that, but I think it does more good than bad with the stories and the lessons you can learn from it.
Yeah, I think of it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's suffering sort of like if you had no suffering in your life
Just be neutral.
but basically be worthless. You know, it's sort of like living in a fairy tale. You know, just having all the things you could ever want. Like you always hear about them, like the people that have everything in life, and there's a lot of cases where they're not happy because it's just there's nothing to do. Like what is it? Like it's just it's not really like the whole point of life is to adopt responsibility and like achieve things and push the boundaries, move yourself forward, not to just receive whatever.
So there's a question I have that popped into my head, and it's that it's easy to say that suffering has its value, but there's some really bad suffering out there. Like, you know, in the 20th century, millions and millions of people died for basically no good reason. Think of the Soviet Union, think of Mao's China, and think of the Holocaust. And so is that are you saying that amount of suffering is justified? Because there has to be...
No sort of suffering is justified. It's just the way that I think the Jews have done a very good job of picking up suffering. Because in the Bible, I think it was... they were lost in the sand, the desert for 40 years or whatever, and they were trying to get out. I think it was 40. I'm not sure how long it was. It was a very long time. The generations were going through and they keep getting struck down by God or whatever. They keep getting struck down unnecessarily. But I think that the mindset they adopted while under that sort of situation was they never blamed God. They always said, "What do we do wrong? How can we improve? What's something that we can do to improve ourselves?" And that's sort of
I just think like there needs to be a distinction when you're talking about suffering before and you're talking about having to work at university. That is a completely different ballgame to being in the politics. You know, that's not.
No, but I'm saying like
that's
like unnecessary suffering, and then there's suffering you can bear.
There's suffering. Like
yeah.
I don't. By many definitions, I've never suffered in my life. You know, I've never had to think about where my food is coming from, where my water is coming from. But I've had different sorts of struggles. But I think that is obviously my question, or one of the things about religion that I don't think I will ever understand. I don't understand how, if there was an almighty body, they would allow that to happen.
But why does everyone?
Why do they discriminate against people?
Why?
How can you possibly justify someone killing 6 million Jews? There was no reason except they didn't like them.
Well, it's a political move. He was trying to gain power in Germany. So
it was political, but that's not political, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
you don't
it's political to a degree. It's hate.
6 million people of this one race purely because of political.
That's just hate.
Motivations.
I can never get my head around it.
Well, can I from an atheistic framework though?
Yeah.
Who cares? I mean, Hitler thought that he was a social Darwinist, so he thought that he was actually doing something good and making living space for a higher evolved species, the Aryan race. That in his mind, at least that's what he said he was doing. Let's take him for his word. So, like from an atheist viewpoint, there is no morals, there's no absolutes, and he thought he was helping humanity evolve. So why do we think that's wrong? I guess from an atheistic viewpoint.
From you can have a governing set of values without God. You know?
Okay. So explain to me how that is. And I'm saying absolute, like across history, they all have to follow certain basic laws.
Yeah, well, because I feel like because people come together, like it's all about like when you have law, like there's precedent, right? Because people see the way that things are decided, and they say, oh, that's a good way to decide that, or that's a bad way to decide that. You know, it's something that evolves with time.
but good and bad is itself is relative. If the Nazis would have won the war, our opinion today in New Zealand might be, or if this was a Japanese island, instead of a Western British one at this time, which it would have been had Japan continued to dominate the Pacific.
I just think the fact that history might have evolved, and that, how does that legitimize the concept of a god? I don't know. So if there's a divine figure who is seemingly allowing his subjects, right? So that's the belief that he put people on this planet, and he, till this day, he lets people die in their millions from cholera and AIDS and famine.
And he discriminates against certain classes of people.
I think that.
I don't think it's like, there's like obviously so many bad things going on there. There's still like thousands of people dying right at the same time.
Thousands, it's literally.
I know, but how do you say this? I don't know. I feel like what Harv was saying before, is under all of that. I don't obviously believe everything he does. I don't believe in not being homosexual or whatever. I think there's something underlying that is where did even our conscience come from? We're animals, right? You can see that through the evolutionary chain. But where does that moment where we ticked and we're we have thoughts, we can
Every animal has thoughts.
Yeah, but it's not. But we're obviously something else.
Well, we have an ability to. I'm not sure what it is, but it's something we just distinct ourselves from our animals. The fact that we can think about the future.
What other animal can make this?
Yeah, a chimpanzee cannot.
No, but what other animal can use a dolphin's sonar hearing to catch fish? No.
Yeah, so why did our species be the one to evolve like this?
Because that's how evolution works.
So how did we get this conscience of us?
No, every animal,
because our intelligence,
our brain evolved.
We have a capacity which other animals don't.
I get that, but
there is one. I'm not sure what it is, but there is something you can that humans do have over animals that allows them to.
No, because in the most simplistic way possible, humans are the most superior animal on the planet. Obviously, there's arguments which exist that we're not the most intelligent, exactly. But we evolved in such a way that literally defied how nature had been governed. We evolved to the point where we don't have to worry about going out and killing them. We don't have predators, right? So that allowed us to get into a stage of comfortability that no other animal in human history has ever had.
But surely you think
because you don't have to think about what car you're going to buy. If you literally, all you can think about is I need to go kill this deer to eat today.
I agree.
I just think, where did the morals,
But you say where do the morals come? But
I know what you're saying. What about Bach's Fifth Symphony, or let's go to the Dunedin Art Museum and see that.
Yeah.
What about?
Let's look at the fact that we have a courthouse.
Yeah.
We have a government run in Wellington that's making laws that we all have to follow. That's all organized.
Well, where did
and
music come from? Where did,
music, art.
You're just this has happened over
Philosophy.
thousands of years. Music probably started from some guy banging a stick on a rock, and then you realize that if I bang two sticks, that makes a different sound. If I bang a hollow one, that's literally how all of this started. You can trace these things back to their beginnings. It didn't just appear. I would understand if it was one day some dude just picked up a violin and was look at me, I'm.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts? Because it's kind of back to what you were saying. There was a moment, or there's some kind of.
I wouldn't say it's a moment. It's sort of I'm not sure the Big Bang, or sort of the. Yeah, I don't really know much about the whole life thing, how life came about. But I think that's what music and art is all about. It's all about people trying to explain life, and
to me that's what religion is. Yeah, trying to.
But why would you not want to?
That's why religion, art, and music are so interconnected.
But you can explain.
None of us can explain life perfectly. That is what religion.
But why do you not?
Why is there different religions?
Why can't you have something that can?
Can you explain that? Why would there be different religions?
I would offer because human beings are different, and and they're all trying to explain the world. That's part of our.
I think religion is to me, and I think
Yeah.
what we're talking about is a religion in itself. If you understand what I'm saying, the religion of not.
Yeah,
believing in an almighty
absolutely.
God. It's a
Yeah,
religion,
agreed.
like,
It's a
called
worldview,
atheism. It's a worldview that relies on,
Mhm.
like you're saying, how is there a code of humanity? But for me, that's just what there is.
So it's there, but
So
there.
I look at this person over there, and if something horrible happens to her, that upsets me, right? But that's not because that's just because I share her humanity for me. That's how I would explain it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you have to. I mean, you may be satisfied with that explanation, but I still have a lot of questions. How
I think that is the beauty of it. Like, we could sit here all day and I could question what you believe and you could question what I believe. Because to me, there's so many holes in the Christian explanation. And there's so many holes in my explanation as well. We're trying to quantify something that is unquantifiable. We're trying to reach back millions of years and explain how, in one sense, some guy who was just there just cast his wand over the world, or in our sense, some rocks collided together and created this.
True.
If that makes sense. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is the most. Most of those explanations are beyond anything we have in our life today.
So basically, what you're describing is theism and atheism.
I guess so. Yeah.
The third way of viewing the world is pantheism, where everything is God and the universe is eternal. The universe is God itself. There's 3 basic theories of life. That there's not 4, there's not 2, there's 3. Everything's God. God exists and is outside the universe, or there is no God. And so, I guess that's what we're all trying to figure out, is which is more. If one of those has to be true, then which is more likely? Okay, so that's another question.
But then why are we here?
I mean, is there truth? Does truth exist?
I think there's something to be said. Like, I'm pretty sure I've seen it. No, I agree with you. But like, you can live a happy life without ever having to come to the conclusion of why you're on this planet.
I know, but I just think it's.
I'm sorry, but if you woke up every morning and the thought that dominates your head is why am I here? How am I here? You would. The human consciousness
I know,
would just
you'd go and say, but like, it's that feeling of like,
explode.
How is this even like?
But why don't you just live in the moment?
I do live in the moment.
Exactly. Like, I'm saying,
But it's you would admit, it's very human to ask why we're here.
Of course it's very human, but I also think, I do think there's a point where you just cannot consider this. No, like, there is a point where, like, if you were trying to explain some of the stuff in this life, if you're like, you know how you're talking about suffering, right? If I wake up every morning and I try to consider the world's suffering, I'm going to be depressed, right?
Yeah.
If that is the dominating thought in my mind, I'm going to be depressed. So there is something to be said. I think you have to almost separate that suffering. That has to become in your mind as much as you cannot care about every person on this planet.
What if I told you?
To the full of your ability.
What if I told you that there is a clear purpose for us, and that we can really know it, and that there's proof behind it?
Wow, that's what that purpose is.
Yeah, but you would be interested because we,
But I think
at the end of the day, we
assign
want.
our own purpose.
No, I don't mean a subjective purpose,
Yeah.
like postmodernism.
Yeah.
I mean an objective purpose.
I think
I mean, so let's go to the next question. This is good. This is really. Do you guys need to go?
No.
Okay. So the next question is, if we could stop the suffering, how would we do that? Or can we, or should we?
You can't stop the suffering. There's no way, but you can minimise it.
And should you try?
Yep.
And why is that?
Why is that? Because that is what we were put on earth to do, I think.
That sounds like a purpose. Do you hear it? He just gave you the purpose.
Yeah, but you say that, but it's easy to say our
It's
purpose
one, no, but
is
it's
to
not.
minimise suffering. But what do you actively do to minimise suffering?
Yeah.
I think the way you can minimise suffering,
Nothing. Like, and that's
the way you
fine,
can
but
minimise suffering is by being the best version of yourself.
But what does
and
that
then
do
you-
for a kid in Africa?
No, so it's all about bearing a load, right? Look, you can always. There's a lot of
I'm
people.
sorry, like, I love you, but you don't spend a second of your day
Yeah, think about
trying to get rid of suffering across the globe. And
you
neither do I.
can't-
And that's
no
what
one
I
does.
think.
No one does.
I never said that, but all I'm saying is you can't solve the world unless if you are flawed, like if you are so flawed yourself. Like you can't say, oh, you should do this, this, and this when you haven't put your own life together.
But that's just completely a contradiction. If our purpose is to stop
No,
suffering,
it's not the purpose. I wouldn't say that.
I feel like that was what was said. But like, if that's our purpose, we wouldn't be here at university getting a degree.
Yeah.
We would be in Africa, and we would be spending every cent of our time and money helping kids.
I just think you found your life's calling.
No, like, I'm sorry, but like, it's so easy for us to sit here in our comfortable little lives and go, the purpose of life is to end suffering. When I'll be honest, I haven't spent a second of the last 24 hours thinking about suffering.
Yeah. Okay. Any other answers to how we solve suffering?
And okay, can I ask
Yeah. Of course.
Would suffering end if we all adopted a Christian philosophy of the world?
I don't
Fuck
think.
no.
No, I don't think it would. But I
Would
think
it minimise it?
no.
Why?
So what?
But I don't think like I get like you guys. We all have our different point of view.
Yeah.
But like I was saying today before, like if we all like had this like one Christian view, if you guys were all like if we were all atheists, I feel like you need to have these like discussions to like contradict each other and like you know.
But how
Well,
can you
that's where suffering
simultaneously
comes from.
believe in something and then when someone else believes
Yeah.
something different to you, let that? Does that make sense to you? Because if you believe so strongly that this is how the world is governed, right? Why would you not want the world to be governed by the same values for everyone else?
Yeah, if our purpose is to...
If that is the right way to look at the world, why do you not care if other people don't think that way?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
If our purpose is to stop suffering, why would we want different views?
Minimise.
Like, if everyone believed the same thing, wouldn't there be
No.
less suffering?
No. Because
Why
there's
not?
stuff. There's suffering that you cannot control.
Yeah, well...
So ending suffering is possible.
Yeah, but there'd be less.
But if there's a divine body, why can they not control it?
Because
Yeah.
What is
I don't
the
think you can-
justification for that?
What do you mean? As in, like, why doesn't God just stop from suffering?
Yes.
Because
What
God
benefit
is-
is there to
To making
To
people
Holocaust.
suffer. Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm getting videos.
I'm going back and forth. Yeah.
does that like
So embarrassing.
Okay. So cool. Let's go to the next question. What happens to us after we die?
Oh god.
One after another, right? These are great
Yeah,
questions.
start down there.
Someone else do it. I don't know.
Go halfway.
You've probably thought about it. Where are you at
Okay.
now?
I think, like, what I believe, what I've been taught, what I've been brought up being told, is that we go to heaven and then there's, like, a hell. And, I get, like in some ways that obviously, like, does scare me and, like, doesn't, like, I don't, like, go every day and think about what I'm going to do, like, when I die. But it's always that thought in your mind about, like, where am I going to go after this? And I do think that this, how you act in life can determine which way you can go.
So there is an
Personally-
ultimate standard or an absolute
But
standard.
No, it's like a personal reason and like personal belief that what I've been brought up being taught. Like, if I probably had an experience of going to like not schools that like taught me this and like pounded it into my head. Like all of my upbringing has been going to church, going to a Pukekohe Christian school, going to like another high school that's fully Anglican. Like that's what it's been pounded to me that's what I believe, and that's why obviously I have that point of view at this stage of life. But I haven't grown up completely yet, so my views can still change, and that's why I completely understand you guys' point because like
And we
that's
completely
a
understand.
different-
Like, I think there's a lot of value in what you're saying. I think there's a lot of value in people believing that the way they live
Yeah.
impacts how they're going to be after their life. I think that is a really good principle because realistically, if you've got people who are living in a way that's going to get them to heaven, right, in their own minds, that can't be a bad thing.
Yeah.
But I just think, for me, heaven is a way, again, of providing comfort to an idea that is so far out of our level of comprehension.
But what's-
Because the idea of life and death is so inherently ridiculous. Like, we are literally just a body of cells that could die any second, right? So I think, Christians, you still believe we die, right?
Yeah.
And that idea in itself is so, I don't know if it's scary, but it's just so hard to comprehend that I think that heaven and hell and all of these things are things that we prescribe to death to provide some comfort to. But I also agree that there is nothing, I think that's a part of religion that I would say I liked. You know, I don't think that there's nothing harmful about the suggestion that in many ways it's good for families, you know, and it's something that I would honestly probably turn to that. Like, if my mum died, right, I'm not going to want to. You don't want to sit there and she's just dead in the ground. Right? I like that.
But it doesn't. It contradicts atheism.
Yeah.
In atheism, there's no afterlife.
I don't get it. If there's a heaven, right? So say, like, I had a wife and she went to hell. If I was in heaven, I would just be sad all the time because she's in hell. So how does that?
It's not.
How does that even
I
work?
think more complex
It's
than
more.
that.
It's kind of a. It's been used throughout time as a pretty to teach kids. Oh, you do this, you go to hell. You do this to go to heaven. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I think the whole point of it is to try to get people to act in a way that is
So
what
you
they
don't-
believe is good, because it's all well and good acting good in front of people, but it's what you do behind the scenes. It's
Yeah.
like, I think that's sort of what the whole point of.
So
heaven
you don't
is.
actually believe that you go to heaven?
I don't think. Yeah, I think it's a pretty outdated.
So what happens after death then?
I think it's sort of just you lose consciousness. It's sort of like before you were born, you had no memory of anything. It's sort of like after you die, you just don't exist. It's sort of just you don't remember anything.
But in some way, that how is there like? Sorry, gonna go back. But how is there like miracles? Like how does?
What's a
Can you
miracle?
explain, like, an
Quantify
example
a
of a
miracle.
Okay, so do you believe in like when people get demons inside of them?
No, absolutely not at all.
But you do.
You do.
In what way would it
For
like?
me,
Because okay,
For me,
I
that's
know,
a
I know,
mental-
like my friend's dad is like a priest, and he's like done an exorcism or something, and like she's like told me like firsthand like what that was like, and so obviously I'm gonna like
No, of course.
believe
There
that.
has to be a mental illness.
As rude
It's
as rude
like-
as it sounds, I agree with him completely. I think the concept of things being in your head is literally your head is telling you
yeah.
that things are in your head. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but like
But I also agree that the legitimacy of it is obviously greater if you've had a personal connection to it. Like for me, I've never, like all of that supernatural thing, it's just like, it couldn't be less real for me because I've never had an experience with it. For me, I sort of believe if you don't think that stuff's going to happen to you, it's not, because I think you can mentally control it.
That would be.
But I also think that is just my my personal beliefs are dictated by my personal experience.
exactly. I
And
think
that
there's.
doesn't mean there's no value to people think. Like,
But we're not. I just want to clarify. I'm not asking about a subjective belief. I'm really asking what objectively is going to happen to us. So, in other words, is there life after death
I just
or
think
not?
there's the same-
I mean, there's not. It's not a subjective
can't
thing.
tell.
It either is or it isn't.
Either way. That is the thing that gets me. Like, what?
So you're saying don't ask the question.
I'm not saying don't ask the question. I'm saying
It's a pointless
at what
question.
point does a question become unanswerable? Like, what
Well,
point-
for
both sides
example,
of a debate.
the two religions that are the greatest number of people in the world, Christianity and Islam, both say that we do live after death, and there is a judgment, and some people will go to heaven and some people will go to hell. So, if they're right, that would be quite important to know in this life, because we want.
But how will we?
No, it's stupid in a way, because the Christian belief that they're very bad at this. They will tell old people, you can join the religion whenever you want, and if you join now, you go to heaven. So these old people join the Christian religion
On their deathbed?
at their deathbed, just to go to heaven.
What about just like the manipulation of churches all around the world? What about priests sexually abusing kids? Like that, to me, it's institutional. That is the very institution that is meant to represent the God, right? And that is what happens in these institutions.
Do you think the God of those institutions approves of that?
Well, that's what it seems like.
I just don't. I would like to know your opinion. Is it like an active? Is he an active God? He? I don't know. Do they have a gender? I'm not sure. But are they an active governing body, or have they just put us on this earth
and just
and
let us
every
go?
now and then they go, oh. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because I have such a hard time getting my head around the fact, like, that happened for hundreds of years. Well, not hundreds, but at least decades. There's just been little kids, being raped by priests who are meant to represent God and His values. You would think that if you were like, I'm just thinking that if I was God, right, and if I created a world, right, and these were the people who were my disciples, who were preaching my word, and they were doing that.
Yep.
I'm intervening. If
would
that's
agree
the
with
power
that.
I have.
Yeah. And since God didn't intervene, He must not exist.
Yes. That would be my view on it. I don't like how there seems to be discrimination. Like, why?
Yeah.
You've said that a few times. What type of discrimination do you mean?
So I'm assuming, like, they don't like he doesn't like homosexuals, right? Based off that's Christian.
Well, a lot of other religions, sorry, like
And a lot of, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, why can't someone just be who they want to be? Like, why is there some?
If you were God, that would be the rule.
Like, why is there some figure telling them that they can't be like this?
Also, I think like how you say, like I know this whole conversation has been pointing towards why is there not an objective standard, why is there not religion? But that objective standard is not objective. It's come from, and it's evolved with time as my standards of morality have evolved.
So, in 20 years, you could come to believe that the Holocaust was just fine, and that'd be okay, because at the end of the day, it's subjective.
Am I not wrong in saying that the view on homosexuality within the Christian community is changing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Some churches, yes, and other churches, no.
Like, there's different versions of the Bible, so that can't be an objective code if it's evolving. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'll just from my own study, the Bible isn't evolving. It's been the same Bible since the first century when it was written.
I think definitely the values of Christianity.
But I feel like there's like they say stuff in the Bible, right? They have these words that they say, and that's all cool. But I feel like if you like underlying all of that, what they say. Yeah, I think that.
How can he be like? You're not allowed to be like who someone wants to be. Like, that just doesn't make sense.
I believe it's been also. Well, I think a lot of judgmental people in positions of power in religion have abused their power with so the fact that people have said, "Oh, you cannot be homosexual." So we interpret the Bible this way because we don't like these kinds of people. It's sort of like what Hitler would have done to in his way. Is sort of he would have read things because he read Nietzsche, I think, this philosopher, and he read his thoughts. Even though he was nothing to do with it, he interpreted it the way he thought it was, and he acted in the way that he thought Nietzsche thought he should act. So it's all about.
I think it's all about people's point of view on life and what they take from different situations. Like, we're all obviously different people. We all have different things going on.
But like how?
No, but I still.
How? So I'm assuming you guys aren't homophobic. But like, how can you look to a Christianity when it's half of its values don't let people?
Because it does more good. It does more good than bad. I'd say holistically, the Bible does more good.
Yeah, but that's such a naive perspective because it's just like it's only done good for you.
What do you mean?
Like, if someone's gay, they're not gonna like have a good time because of God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, he's just saying that, like, the Bible...
They
is
should
meant
be
to
able
a
to
person
do that.
of a group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the Bible does not contain objective moral truths.
I think the Bible absolutely does.
It does a good job
I
of it,
don't-
but
I don't
it's
think
no,
it contains
nowhere near perfect.
A perfect set of values.
Yeah.
So who gets to decide what the perfect set of values is? You? Us?
Humanity itself. It's over time.
But humans have...
Because 100 years ago, women weren't allowed to own property or vote, whatever. Well, that obviously has changed tremendous amounts in such a short period of time. And I think it will continue to change. So that's why you can never look at the Bible as this one truth,
Yeah.
one way of doing things. I think it's a good basis to...
We can take what we want and leave the
But
rest.
you can
Yeah, I
but not
think
like
if
that.
you don't know- you
But you
don't
can
know-
also look at every other religion. You can look at Islam. You can look at Buddhism and all that, all the other places, all the other religions, and take wisdom and stuff from there.
But is that not exactly what atheism is?
Yeah.
Like, you can take the best bits from every religion and you end up with something that's not a religion, it's atheism.
No, the problem with atheism is it's sort of like
That's a great question,
I
actually.
think the problem with atheism is it's sort of like there's no, you sort of need a governing body as a human. Because
So we need a God, but when we disagree with
I
him,
think
we
the
can
way-
just disagree.
The way I live as if there is a God. So they are looking down on you,
Yeah.
but I don't think there actually is one.
I think there's a bit of
Okay.
You understand what I mean? No, because
I think
I don't think there is like a guy out there, you know, or a guy, woman,
think
or
you're just
I don't know, a
articulating.
thing out there. But it's sort of like if you have like the view of someone looking over you,
It's comfort.
it's not comforting.
I
It's sort
think
of
it's
like
Exactly. Fair enough. I just think that's what religion is.
This is a great cut. Wow.
There's nothing wrong with
So, but you're saying you I like what you're saying. You're saying, you know, if you're gonna pick and choose what you like out of the
That's
Bible,
my question for you.
then
Like, I'm not like, you guys are great people. Like, you're my friends. But I know that you guys do things that contradict with some things that are said in the Bible.
oh wow, okay.
Am I wrong? Though?
Yeah, that's
Am I
100% true.
So how come you get to pick and choose? Oh, I like that stuff, but not that stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, it's the whole body that I like.
no. I
So
think,
why do I not get to
Oh,
sit here and go,
okay,
okay,
okay, but
like,
like,
you know how I was just saying, like, I like the whole thing about, like, the afterlife, and, like, I see the value of it. Why can I not take that? And why can I not go to Islam? And I don't know much about Islam, but I go, oh, I really like that concept. And that forms my body of understanding.
Okay, let's go to the next question. And it's the last question. What is the purpose of our existence?
I don't know.
Or actually, sorry, I forgot a question, and it's this. What ultimately will happen to humanity?
Okay, so
Now, I know you're going to say, we don't know,
I'm not going to say...
and I'm not going to think about it. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
So, if you read the end of the Bible, they have revelations. Like, at the end of it, it says stuff about. This is what my person believes. Okay, and it says stuff about like how like someone's gonna come down into the earth and they're just gonna cause this major ruckus and like things are just gonna like happen, right?
Does this person have a name?
No, I
The
don't.
Bible said major ruckus. I like the Bible.
But like, and then but you see like now, not like I'm not gonna say like the end is the world is ending.
Like, who's causing the major ruckus?
I don't know. It just says that someone's gonna come down and kill them.
Who is it?
It's Satan, isn't it? Isn't it Satan?
Is Satan like personified as someone? Donald Trump.
No. Okay, but the
Robot Hitler, Judith Collins.
anyway, And so I think, this is what I think personally. My views could still change. Like, I'm still learning so much, but like, I think from what I've been taught, that's gonna happen, and it's gonna like just cause, I can't remember really what happened in the end of Revelations, but I just know that a guy comes down and he causes major destructions, and like there's wars, there's natural disasters, and like I don't know, if you think about it now, like what's happening in the earth at the moment, there's natural disasters, there's major wars, but I guess that it's always been happening throughout time. But like, I don't know, like you can see the world like just slowly.
You think it's getting worse, in other words?
Yeah, it's slowly like crumbling in and on itself. But I know like
Why
life
would
could.
God want that to be his future on this earth?
Well, why would he put that in his Bible if he didn't think it's going to happen?
He didn't. Someone wrote the Bible.
Yeah, but he gave
Oh,
that
God.
idea. Someone came down and said, "This is what you should use."
Do you think that there's any legitimacy to the idea that some who, I don't know who wrote the Bible, it was multiple people, right? They wrote this Bible, which was like their values, right? And we've given divine power to this book that was literally, I've always thought, what if I wrote a book today, right? And I think that the nature of civilization has evolved to the point that it would not become a religion. But because back then, those ideas were just starting, whereas now they're much more developed. Is there a legitimacy to the idea that someone just wrote a book and it was adopted as the law of the land?
Why did people believe it? You think they were more gullible than we are?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they're more
But I
gullible.
thought they saw stuff.
But there
they,
was not entrenched belief. Like if I came out with a religion today, it's going to be denounced by Muslim. It's going to be denounced by Islam. Not denounced, but it's going to be competing with other things, right? What if this was just the first example of like humans codifying these values that you've been echoing towards, that we all should, not I don't know should, but do share, it seems. You know what I mean?
Well,
I feel
the
like
historical, can I say something there? The historical record is simply this. There was tons of religions when Jesus showed up. I mean, there was religions everywhere.
I don't know
So
enough about this.
people had to leave what they were believing in.
I think they saw something, and I think that there was miracles that happened. Like I don't know, you should read into the Bible, and what was that? Jesus walked on water, and he brought bread and fish to feed the poor. Something about that, just like I feel like if the Bible, like so many people just for generations and generations believe it, I feel like there was something that's like, yeah, that's true.
But can
you know?
I counter, like, if you talk about like civil rights movement, is that a miracle? Is the emancipation of the African American slaves? I think in 1,000 years you can look back on that as an absolute miracle. Like, and people saw Martin Luther King, right? And that inspired people, and that made them get rid of their old beliefs and adopt new beliefs. Yeah.
That's called the fallacy of equivocation. So that means you just changed the definition of miracle. To her, she's meaning miracle, a supernatural act that doesn't happen in the natural world.
Yeah, I'm asking you.
You're talking about a movement that's people marching, but it's not supernatural.
But why is it?
I don't think people ever look at the civil rights movement as a miracle. Because I think that people just, because you can trace it back to historical facts. You can look at, like in history, you look at stuff like this, you look at the causes and the consequences of different sorts of historical movements. So it's sort of like, you can...
Was Jesus not a historical movement? In a way?
What do you mean? Like,
Did he not inspire people to believe the way he believed?
I think Jesus, the idea of Jesus was sort of adopted by the Christians.
What's the difference between Jesus and Martin Luther King?
Well, because...
Good question.
Because you're prescribing it. That's what there's a prescription of a miracle to me. Which is exactly my question. You could prescribe a miracle.
But you're saying they didn't happen, they just said it happened.
Yeah.
Well, am I right in believing that the history of Jesus is that he kind of led a civil rights movement himself? You could say?
Yeah. Do you have an answer to that?
I don't even know.
Yeah,
I'm not
no.
well educated. I'm not
Yeah.
intending to be well educated, but I think that's kind of the gist of what he did.
Well, they don't really have the same sort of civilization they had now, where you can sort of
Exactly. So
trace
that's
it.
why it was easy to attribute it to America, because now You know what I mean? Like if you'd never seen that before, it becomes something is so much more magical. Not
The
magical,
first time
but
you
the
see
first time you see something, it's gonna be wow, and that gets reduced until it's like, oh, okay, that just happened.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I think in a way, the point of Jesus was
It's symbolic.
it's sort of like because he didn't sin, was it? He never sinned or whatever. Like the fact.
He died on the cross for God.
Yeah, so it's sort of like he's like the guy you try to be, you strive towards to.
That's why he died on the cross.
I'm not sure if it's true or not, but it's just, I think that's sort of an interpretation of what Jesus was supposed to do.
Can I share with you another viewpoint just to give you something to think about? Hopefully it won't take too long. Anything else to say before? Because you guys have asked a lot of questions that I might be able to at least get you started on the road of understanding. So I am a Christian. I'm a pastor here in Dunedin. And so when I was your age, I was kind of pretty much just like you, searching, trying to figure out truth. I became a Christian. Obviously, I believe it. But I'm a lawyer by background, so I've done all that as well. I've done a lot of study in ancient literature and the Bible and stuff. All that to say that what I'm going to tell you is kind of essential Christianity. There's lots of churches out there, but they all agree on certain basic things, and that's what I want to share. And those basic things are, first of all, you know how I asked you, how did everything begin? Well, the Christian view, the biblical view, is that God, outside of space, time, matter, universe that we know today, so outside the box, created the box, and he created us to live in the box. Science actually confirms the existence of God. Your professors don't like to really talk about it, but the fact is, every day we are learning more and more about the intricacies of our bodies, the amazing fine-tuning of the universe and planet Earth for our existence. I think you said we could die like that. If we were a little bit further or closer to the sun, we wouldn't be here. If the gravitational constant was different, we wouldn't be here. The fact that we exist right now is a miracle. Miracle in the traditional definition of the term was something that must have been caused supernaturally outside the box. The Kalam cosmological argument for the existence of God says anything that begins to exist must have a cause. The universe began to exist. We know that from the Big Bang. Therefore, the universe must have a cause. So what caused the universe? Well, it has to be timeless, spaceless, matterless, very intelligent, and very powerful. In other words, the three-letter word, God. So there's a lot of good evidence for the existence of God. And to be frank, we get more and more evidence if we're open-minded about it. The second question was, why is there suffering? Okay, if there is a God, why is there suffering? Well, the Bible says that there was a time in the past where there was no suffering, the Garden of Eden. God intended for us to live in a world without suffering, but the Bible also says he made us in his own image and he gave us free will. So while we're similar to the animals in some ways, we have children, we reproduce, we eat, we walk around the earth, we're different in some fundamental respects. That is, we have an aesthetic sense, we have morality, conscience, and we have a stewardship obligation to care for the earth. So environmentalism is built into our very nature. So that's how Genesis presents that we are different, we're special, but we also have free will. So we're not robots or machines. And that means that God gave us the ability, if we wanted, to rebel and to violate his perfect world. And that's what we've done. If we go back in time, we all come from one man and one woman. And actually, science has confirmed that as well, mitochondrial Eve. Have you studied that in anthropology? Yeah. So am I right?
Yeah.
So genetically, we are all connected, at least back to a female. I don't know if they know about the male, but I haven't researched it much. But basically, the Bible confirms we're all connected. And the Bible says that first pair, our great-great-great-great-grandparents, sinned and rebelled against God. And so ever since then, we've had a corrupt nature. We're sinners, to quote the old-fashioned way of saying it. And so today we see the effects of sin. We see war, selfishness, pride, greed. But we know it's wrong. See, that's the amazing thing that atheism... See, Christians admit, or the Christian worldview admits things are wrong, but it explains why we know it's wrong. Atheism can only say, well, we feel it's wrong, but we don't really have a good reason for saying so. Because in atheistic framework, it's just natural. We're animals. At the end of the day, who cares? Who cares if Hitler, an animal, kills a bunch of other animals? But we don't think that. And atheism can't explain why. Christianity can. And so, in other words, suffering is not something God intended, but he allows it temporarily because of our rebellion. But he's also said he's going to do something about it. So it's not always going to be here. And that's the good news. The way that he solves the suffering problem, sin and death, is through sending one person, his own son, into the world to become a human being, to take on the sins of humanity and pay the judicial penalty, like in a court of law, so that humanity could have a new beginning. Have you guys seen The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis? Narnia. So C.S. Lewis was an atheist who became a Christian. And he wrote Narnia as an allegory of the Bible. And Aslan is Jesus. He's the one that died on the stone to release Edmund from the power of the white witch. So we're like Edmund. We've eaten the Turkish delight and come under the spell of evil and of the ruler of evil, which is Satan, a fallen angel. And so by Jesus dying on the cross, he has conquered sin. And by rising from the dead on the third day, coming out of the tomb, he's defeated death. So the two great enemies of humanity, sin and death, have been conquered not by us. We didn't do a damn thing, if you want to be honest. He did it all. And all we have to do to get the benefit of his victory is to believe in him. And that's why in Christianity, we're not saved by doing a bunch of good works. We can never do that. God is holy, and we can't achieve the perfection he requires. So we need the imputation, the legal imputation of the perfect one onto us. And that's what happened at the cross. We get the benefit of all Jesus was, is, and did for us. So that when we believe in him, we get the free gift of eternal life. John 3:16 said, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him will not die, but have eternal life." So how do we know this is true? I mean, we're all relatively smart people. How do we know that a guy that lived 2,000 years ago is the key to our eternal life? Well, thankfully, there is historical verification for Jesus. Even non-Christian historians admit he lived. There's more evidence for Jesus' life than Caesar's, if you want to be honest, Julius Caesar. And so Jesus definitely lived. But did he really die on a cross outside of Jerusalem in 30 AD? And did he rise from the dead 3 days later? And the answer, historically, based off a clear and convincing evidence standard, which you guys would know about in the law, beyond a reasonable doubt, clear and convincing, preponderance of the evidence. Like, there's a lot of proof that Jesus rose from the dead, even though it doesn't really mesh well with our naturalistic way of viewing the world. So it's a miracle. But did it really happen? Well, the evidence is yes. The tomb was empty. the body was never found. The apostles who claimed to see him rise from the dead went from being cowards when he was arrested to complete courageous maniacs that died preaching all around the Roman Empire that Jesus had risen from the dead. And a lot of people believed him. Non-Jews. That's how Christianity, which was originally Jewish, became a worldwide religion, is because even Gentiles had to admit that the evidence for Jesus' resurrection was strong. And so the Christian message, although at first it sounds incredible, actually is historically verifiable. So your question.
So are other religions wrong?
Are other religions wrong? So the biblical answer to that question is the other religions mean well, they intend well, they see that there's a problem, and they want to solve the problem, sin and death, through our good deeds. But the difference with Christianity is the solution can't be solved that way. And actually, you guys kind of hinted at that even if we all agreed Christianity was true, even if everyone was Christianity, we would still have a sinful heart. And that would still cause problems, and does, like you guys mentioned. So just becoming a Christian doesn't mean you automatically become a perfect person that does what's right. That explains the clergy who would abuse kids, which is totally against what God stands for. So hypocrisy, Jesus came to rid the world of hypocrisy. We're all hypocrites. We need to be changed on the inside in order to live the life God intends for us. So, in other words, yes, all other religions are wrong, not because they don't intend well, it's because they don't have the God-man who died for our sins. Muhammad didn't die for our sins and rise from the dead. Buddha didn't do that. Gandhi didn't do that. Only Jesus claimed to be God, backed it up with evidence, and then died and rose from the dead, fulfilling all these Old Testament prophecies. We haven't even talked about that. I mean, that's the point of the Old Testament, is that it gives like a super huge list of prophecies that the Messiah has to fulfill, and Jesus fulfilled them at his first coming, but he'll do even more at his second coming. And like you were talking about, how does this all end? From the biblical viewpoint, in this life, we have to either believe or not believe. It's like being a jury, being on a jury. We have to say guilty or not guilty. We have to say for Jesus or against him. And if you say for Jesus, God gives you eternal life and forgiveness and promises that you're going to be in the new heavens and new earth that God is going to make in the future. When Narnia comes alive, you know. Remember those statues in Narnia, how they come to life and Narnia goes from snow and ice to green? That's how our universe is going to change. It's going to fundamentally change into something that's brand new, a fresh new start.
But what happens if I die?
Good question. You not only don't get to go, you will be in a place called the Lake of Fire because
I like that song.
You mean the Johnny Cash song?
It's Nirvana.
Nirvana. Okay. Well, you can join Kurt Cobain. No, I'm serious. No, I don't want you to go there. That's the whole point. So if you die disbelieving in Jesus, you will meet God in the next life, according to the Bible. And he'll say, why should I let you into heaven? And if you say, well, I was a pretty good person, he's going to say, sorry, dude. No, you weren't. I watched you your whole life. I knew every thought you thought in your life. I know every action you did when no one was looking. You're not good. But if you say, I'm not good, but Jesus is good, your son is good, and I believed in him, and he died on the cross for my sins, then he's going to say, welcome, come inside, and enjoy the party.
I don't even have to believe my whole life.
Technically, yes. The man on Jesus died between two thieves. And one thief said, Jesus, remember me. I want to be in your kingdom. And Jesus said, you're going to be with me in paradise. But you know what's wrong with thinking that, right? You don't know when it's going to come. You don't know when your life is going to end. You could get hit by a car after I'm done talking with you. And also, you're missing out. Being a Christian and walking with God and knowing your purpose in life, knowing what this life is all about, is worth every second. You know, I've been a Christian for 20 years, and I will say there is nothing that compares with actually having a relationship with God. I think you probably know a little bit about what I'm talking about. So my wife has cancer, okay, and we have 5 kids, so I could lose her. It's possible. But I know that whatever happens, she is going to be in heaven with me for all eternity.
Do you care more about God than your wife?
Yes. I care. Yes. I mean, my relationship with God is primary or takes priority over my relationship with my wife. And that's because my wife can be taken away. If my wife is taken away, then I've just lost. So actually, if you put God first, your marriage is put in just the right position in the scale of values to where it actually becomes what it was meant to be. If you make your girlfriend your God, which I used to do, my girlfriend was, when my girlfriend broke up with me, I was shattered to my very core because I had put her in the place of God. She had become an idol. Dude, we can put anything in place. It doesn't have to be a girlfriend or a boyfriend. It can be anything. Your career, sex, drugs, anything can become an idol. But when you put God where he's in his rightful place, man, everything else falls into place. So, will you guys think about this?
I feel like it's been good to get someone else who someone else because I've been I've been trying to tell my point of view to them.
I can
can't
tell,
actually
yeah.
get across to them because I don't think I had them enough stuff to back it up with. So it's good to actually get someone to be them to just be yes.
You guys are obviously good friends. So we're, keep that. Friendship and love is what life's all about. So back to the last question, purpose is relationship. It's love, and it's, yeah.
You articulated the best argument I've ever heard.
Yes.
By far.
Yeah, I could not do that.
It's good, man. It's good. And all I can say is read about Jesus for yourself in the Gospels, and you will see that he's different, that he made very bold claims, but then he backed it up. As C.S. Lewis said, Jesus is not a good prophet. He's either a wacko, the most evil liar that ever existed, or he really is the real deal. But he's not a good teacher, a good moral teacher. That he can't be, because he made too many bold claims. Sweet. Okay, so we've been talking for over an hour. So thank you. That was really good.